I think I'm live now. I think I can talk to you all. That's kind of exciting. Here we are, a week before the holiday season starts going. And here we are at Lace on Race doing some things that seem counterintuitive. This is our absolute last week before the holiday season starts and before we close the books on November. And what does the Lace on Race team do? Are we supplicating? Please help us make November. Are we hoping that you don't notice? Are we letting it slide by? No, no. We're giving you tough Hesed. There are two posts that are already up, one from Julie and the other one from Laura. We're waiting for two more from Danny and Holly, two of our administrators, that talk specifically about the ask and the larger issue of engagement as a whole. And instead of doing the easy thing, we do the counterintuitive, some might say audacious, to the point of foolhardy thing. We tell you exactly what's going on. This is important for us. During this time of the giving season, from now, kind of after Thanksgiving, and then there's Cyber Monday, and then Giving Tuesday, and then the entire month of December, and then hopefully, you do this year-end push for year-end donations, and all of that time, you're supposed to be really nice to the people who could give you money. And here we're not doing that. I hope you all know that those of you who have chosen to partner with us financially, chosen to walk with us and engage with us in a tangible way, how much we absolutely, I have to sweep that away, how much we absolutely value and are encouraged and are grateful for those funds. We also do not want to be too effusive. There is a big difference between thanking someone for doing something that they sort of already should do if they're here and they've made a commitment to praxis, as opposed to, oh my gosh, this was such a huge surprise. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Too many of those. The second example, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, does really funky things for our community in general, for the person who is doing the financial engagement, and for me and my team as well. It is one thing to say, thank you so much. Thank you. We promise we will be good stewards of your funds. We promise that we are going to be mindful of every dollar that we have and that we will use it in good ways that further and enhance and complement and is in congruence and alignment with our North Star, which is, wait for it, wait, what, wait, I got it. You thought I forgot. I didn't forget to lessen and mitigate the harm endured by Black and brown people, perpetuated by white people and white supremacy. That is why we are here. So every single time that someone partners with us, it gives me a chance to do that more and better. It gives my staff a chance to do that more and better. It ensures our longevity so that people who are just getting on the on-ramp, who are in pre-contemplation or contemplation stage, can have the same tools that you have had. Because as we know, if we are going to be slow cookers, it is not a one and done 2-day or 2-week or even 2-month thing. We need to be around 2 years from now and 5 years from now and 10 years from now, because there are some people who, even though we say slow cooker, they're slow cookers and you still got to plug that sucker in and put it on low. And eventually, when you know enough and you want to bubble off, when you want to bubble off that extra juice, you put it on high and you take the lid off. Yeah, I can make a metaphor out of anything. You're welcome. But the point is that in order for us to do what we are called to do individually and singly, I, as founder, my staff, my leadership team, and all of you who I hope to see in Chef's Table, drinking good orangeade, eating good food, we need to be ready for that. So you have had a couple of posts that have been, wait for it, hard hitting. You're going to get 2 more. You're welcome. Because we really do want to have you feel the import of what we're doing here. Julie's piece, when we looked at the numbers in a hard way, didn't come as a surprise to me, but it did come as a surprise that it was a surprise to a lot of you. Laura's piece, as she broke down, boom, 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 and got a lot of hits. And then we talked about the fact that the things that we present to you, that I present to you, don't actually do. They used to. They used to. But now everyone figures that they know what I'm going to say. I mean, basically, you can just go ahead and put it on a cup, right? Wait, where is it? There it is. The house that love built. Keep walking. Place of lumpy crossings. Lean in. Plant roots. New things in new ways. Kind candor. God is a black woman. Community. You've already heard me say all of that. So you figure, a lot of you figure, that you can just scroll and roll. Even the regulars. I know what Lace is going to say. One of the things that I learned in my time at the county, when I did quite a bit of rote work, except for the few times that I got thrown a curveball, right? Where I know this process, I know this process, I know this procedure, I know this. Oh, whoa, whoa, wow, that's different. I'm supposed to put yellow tabs on the negative and green tabs on the positive, and I only call the purple tabs. And last year when we did this campaign, purple tabs were no, orange tabs were yes, blue tabs were called. If you do not pay attention to what you feel is rote and routine and repetitive, you will indeed make mistakes. At the county, it's fairly low stakes mistakes, right? You just get another one of those sticky note things and you put the right colors on and you file them. And I do not miss those days at all. Did you know that it's the 24th? It is exactly 1 month and 1 day since I left county service. And am I happy about that? Here I am talking to you in a turtleneck, and you don't know what's below the belly button, and I'm not telling you. On my own time at 1:26 p.m. Yeah, I love this, and I want to keep doing it in a very selfish way. In a very selfish way. This is what I want to do literally for the rest of my life. So, back to the exhortation. A lot of times people think of exhortation as a spanking. A lot of times people think of getting you to a sense of conviction, and a place of conviction about your congruence in your praxis is an attack. It is neither one of those things. The two that are already up right now and the ones that are coming, and me with my commentary on top, is going to become a series that is going to become mandatory, that everybody see. And we're going to add them into the guidelines. The guidelines that I have exactly 6 days to finish, because I had promised myself that I was going to get all of the guidelines done so that Danny can post them up. Bing, bang, bing, bang, boom. All 19 of them. Now 20. Because it's important that you know this. We talk a lot about how do we live out our ethos and our praxis? How do we keep this space free-ish? How do we live out our ethos about money? And you've seen this in the menu merchandise, and we are going to be doing merchandise. Am I completely comfortable with that? I am not. I would think that people wouldn't need to have something as tangible as a mug or a menu or a pen or a bumper sticker in order to partner financially with Lace on Race. But the fact is that some people do. Some people would really like a mug that says all of my sayings in one easy thing. So when you're drinking your coffee, you can go lean in, plant roots. And we want to give it to you. But we also want to make sure that it's not just the woman in Grosse Pointe, Michigan that can afford a menu or a mug, right? We want the woman in National City. We want the woman in Inglewood. We want the woman in Detroit to be able to feel it too. We want the woman in the mountains of Kentucky and Arkansas and Appalachia. We want you to be able to afford the mug too, which is why we came up with the model that we did. Those that can, pay for it. Those that can do even more, pay it forward. Those of you who can pay part of it or none of it, guess what? You're going to be covered. You're going to be covered. Trust me when I tell you that everybody who wants swag will get swag. I want you to push yourself a little bit. I don't want 10,000 people going, I can't afford it. And I know zip codes because I worked for the county. And so if you give me a Beverly Hills zip code and you tell me I really need one, well, unless you're really one of the original cast members of Down and Out in Beverly Hills, I'm going to give you some side eye. But the point is that everybody gets to commune in community. Try to say that 10 times fast. Gets to commune in community, eye to eye, next to each other. And no, you won't know if you pay it forward who you paid it forward for. Just like you'll never know. You will never know. We will never know the names of the people who got the Chromebooks a few months ago. I think the only person in our entire community who knows who the single moms were, the 19 single moms, was Danny, because she was the one doing the interfacing with Lachey of Kinfolk Collective, and she's the one that got the list. I don't even know. And I love not knowing. A lot of times when people are talking about giving, they talk about the biblical scripture where the right hand shouldn't know what the left hand is doing. I know that's flipped because of the way Facebook is, but work with me. And a lot of times I agree with that. Sorry for chewing gum. I have dry mouth, and I don't know why, it's been really bad lately. So I got to chew gum and I got to drink water. Speaking of which, got to chew gum, got to drink water. Hold on. Not water, cold brew. Whoa, didn't see that coming. But that is exactly why I'm feeling as energetic as I am right now. So a lot of times people will talk about, well, I don't want to do it. I don't want to let people know that I'm giving. And Laura Berwick, one of our administrators, came up with something good. People don't have to know the dollar amount. People just need to know. But I think that it's important enough to engage. I would actually go one further. I have no problem. In my personal giving, and I do quite a lot of personal giving, not just through Lace on Race, but Lace on Race is now officially my job. So whatever I'm doing through Lace on Race kind of doesn't count. So if I'm going to be living out my own personal praxis, and you better believe that I have one, and that it's as important to me as my corporate North Star, that I live in congruence to my stated values, because there's no way I can be here exhorting and admonishing and convicting you all to live out your values if Lace, not the persona, Lace on Race, but Lace, it's a 98% overlap, but Lace, or as my father would call me, Jan, if Janine is not living out her values, she has no right to come to you as Lace on Race and ask you to live out yours. So there's that. But going on. While I'm doing that, I don't mind who knows if it's $5, if it's $50, if it's $500. Because one of the reasons that I get paid now a salary is that I can go out and be generous. Because like I said, my generosity as Lace on Race, our working with community partners, is part of my job now. What am I doing as Jan or Janine? Because a lot of you guys do the same thing. It's like, well, especially professions where you get a lot of accolades for being selfless, right? For getting it right. Well, I'm a teacher. I already do my job. I'm a social worker. I'm a nurse. I'm a minister. That's what you do. If you're drawing a paycheck for it, you need to be doing something else. And I mean that. And if I mean it for you, I mean it for myself. But let's go back to that. And by the way, that is a good conversation that we need to have, a broader conversation that we need to have, that we will have probably after 2021, because there is so much on the plate except a burrito. And here it is already 1:33 p.m. Pacific. We will put a burrito on the plate. We'll shove everything aside for the Chipotle chicken burrito that I am willing to drive a couple of miles for. Yeah. But going back. Too much cold brew. This is my second one. So what's going on here is that I don't mind telling people $5, $50, 500. I don't mind telling people that I participated. I'm never anonymous when I do GoFundMe's or when people have a fundraiser on Facebook. I make sure my face is seen, and I make sure that my dollar amount is seen, particularly when it's for someone else, when someone is fundraising on behalf of someone else. I want you to know. I want you to know how much skin I have in the game, how much skin I put into the game. And it is not to shame other people, but it is to go, oh, I know Lace. It's not like she lives in Rancho Santa Fe. She lives in North Encanto. She doesn't drive a Lexus. She drives a late model Santa Fe. Her earrings have never been more than $10 in her entire life. Actually, I bumped that up to 20. Inflation, call me crazy. But the fact is, people who know that I live modestly, but can still give, can see that as not just, as not a, hey, look at me, I'm doing better than you. It's like, oh, whoa, I know how she lives. I know how she lives. And she doesn't live profligately, but she's doing this so I can too. So when I think of that maxim, that exhortation, that scripture, if that's part of your scripture tradition, that the right hand should never know what the left hand is doing, I think of that as, if I am being anonymous to anyone, it is to the intended or the eventual recipient. I don't want the single mom who lives outside Peoria, Illinois, to know that it was me who gave the last amount that enabled her to buy a Chromebook, right? I don't want the person, particularly when we're doing social worky things, right? Like a food exchange or a coat giveaway. I don't want the 9-year-old or the 9-year-old's mother in Logan Heights knowing what the lady in Lemon Grove North Encanto did. As someone who knows how hard it is to stand in line for food, for a community clinic, for a gas voucher. And I know what it feels like, y'all. It may not have been yesterday, but I know what it feels like. I don't want to know the name of the nice person that made it possible for me to put $20 in my gas tank, or for me to have a voucher to go to Kohl's and find a coat that's under $40. Who are we kidding? Who are we kidding? But it's okay for the organization to know. It's okay for my peers to know. It's okay for me to say it overtly. Hey, Lace, do you want to go to happy hour? You know what? All my fun money is gone this week. And you know me, I have no shame. If you want to pay from a Mai Tai, I'm happy to go. And yes, I have said that. Why did I say Mai Tai? It's usually never a Mai Tai. Margarita, Southern California. What can I tell you? But I put $60 towards this. And by the way, if you want to put $60 towards this, why don't you just bring over a 6-pack of those pre-mixed margaritas that you can get at Trader Joe's, and we'll sit in the front field. And we won't have to pay $20 for a pitcher. We can commune together that way, and guess what? We both just lived out our values. But she needs to know. I'm going to pull a name out of a San Diego person that I know. Charlene needs to know what my values are. There are so many times, both in online and offline spaces, where people don't know who you are. They're surprised. Nobody should be surprised when I say I made sure that Dasha Tav has money for the food exchange on Sundays. I made Dasha my personal shopper. We haven't done it yet. We've done it twice. She's awesome. but it was in service to this. And people need to know that. People need to know where I'm spending excess or what seems like excess. It makes sure that Dasha has enough so that she can afford to run this program that is doing more in San Diego than any of the big funders are doing. Food Not Bombs needs to exist. I need to be the person that makes Food Not Bombs exist, but I do not need to be the person where there are people who are houseless, where there are people with food insecurity, where people with housing insecurity. At the corner of Fairmont and Whitman, they don't need to know that it was the lady from Lemon Grove who bought the soup, who bought the napkins. Are you with me? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Dash can know. My peers can know. But the woman who I'm ladling soup out for does not need to know that I bought the noodles that went in that soup. That's where it gets self-aggrandizing and self-centering. Hey, are you liking those spiral noodles? That's me. I bought the noodles. And by the way, when you wipe your mouth, you can thank me too. I didn't get the good ones, not the ones that almost look like fabric. I got the ones that are like 2-pack for $2.50 because after all, you're houseless. No, no, no. You give your best, not out of your excess, but from your first fruits. I did get the napkins that feel like fabric. I made sure that Dasha has enough in her card and her life so that she can continue this incredible service. That is what it means. Laura said it. I'm pretty sure Danielle said it. A lot of us have said it. And more importantly, I've said it for years, but you guys only hear it when white people say it. So let's just go with Laura and Danny. Money is so hinky. People hate the fact, and I get it. I get it. I get that people hate the fact that, sorry, I get that people really do hate the fact that it kind of bursts their bubble. It sort of takes away from the magic. When people figure out, oh, Lord, Lace does this for money. She monetizes this. Like it somehow delegitimizes what I do. Kind of like what the Christian left did. Before they stole our funding model, Laura already went into that. But a lot of times white people think that they can give Black people and brown people side eye when they're reminded that basically we don't just live on poetry slams and free liquor. This is a big thing to remember. People do not like the idea of thinking that I actually need to live. People don't like the idea that eventually we have to really start talking about paying our staff a living wage, which we currently do not do. We need to think about this idea that the information is important, but the person who's presenting it to you is not. And we have seen this in a lot of ways in both of these scenarios, both from Laura and now from Julie. And you'll hear from Danny and from Holly. So when we talk about Giving Tuesday, and I want to talk a little bit about that, we are going to say, give us money. It's Giving Tuesday. It's our last push before the holiday season when we know that financial engagement will be down. And then we're going to push again towards the end of the year when hopefully we'll make that up. And I need to be really honest with you about that. I know that it's supposed to be, and I remember when I was growing up, and one of my favorite singers was Amy Grant. Loved her, love her still. And she came to my church. She did. She came to my church in Lemon Grove, California. And she did a little mini concert for the high schoolers and college career, right? So this was like late 70s, early 80s, my father's eyes period of time, if you know, of Amy Grant. And I remember I wasn't in leadership, but I knew someone who was, and they were talking about making sure that we did not just a free will offering, but also I do think that there was an upfront amount. And I remember feeling so crushed. Oh, you mean that Amy doesn't do it for free? Amy doesn't come all the way from Tennessee to Lemon Grove, California to play for us for 45 minutes for free? Oh, wow. I doubt her conviction. I doubt her commitment. And I remember thinking that until I started doing ministry and I started doing service work, and people thought the same thing. Oh, well, she must be compromised. Well, raisin bread doesn't by itself, nor does Noosa yogurt, the best yogurt in the world, nor do the pills that I need to get from Kaiser every month that keep me upright and lucid. Yes, to do this work and to do it well takes money. We can't get around that. And people who every single time, because over the last week between Laura and Julie, we've lost about 50 people. Not a huge amount, but enough for me to notice. And after this, we're going to lose people too. We never gain members when we do an ask or when we do Hesed love, tough Hesed love. We always lose you. We always lose you. That needs to be thought about. As we go into this next year with the Lace on Race Cafe, and that basically means, and it sounds whimsical, but basically what this means is formal structure. Formal structure as an LLC and as a nonprofit. And what is in my eye? There we go. It's so weird when it's like, this is the wrong hand. So anyway, all of this, when we're talking about mentorship programs, when we're talking about all of this, it sounds really whimsical, but we are going to be doing more than we have ever, 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 ever done. I need to be able to give these potential mentors tools. And that means I'm not going to ask them to buy a $40 book by themselves, because I don't want funds or relative wealth or modest circumstances to get in the way of mentorship, either as a mentor, where's my finger, either as a mentor or as a mentee. That's a big deal. There are some of you who have been around for a long time, and I know your situation. I know the ones who are struggling, and I know the ones for whom it is relatively easy. And I know that there are a lot of people who I want to give just open themselves up and have them pour into another person. I want that. I also know that in order for them to have the tools and the resources that they need, that we are going to make sure that we have the tools for them, which means I also need to make sure that I have the tools for the lady who's just as good but lives in Bel Air. We need to make sure that we are doing this work well for everyone, with the North Star fixed and inviolate. So yes, as we go into this year, we're going to be finishing up the guidelines. We're going to be going into some other things. Hopefully next year, maybe because there won't be as much to do. Maybe we'll also be able to start the Good Place. 52 episodes, 52 weeks. I think we can do it. And while we're at it, we'll be looking at Scanlons, what we owe to each other. Not what we owe each other, what we owe to each other. That takes a lot. I have been telling people, and everyone kind of goes, we hear ya. I have been busier in these last 32 days of, wait for it, retirement than I have been in the last 25 years. I thought that I'd get a little bit of a break. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to paint my kitchen. I have all the samples. There's like 15 of them now. It looks like Play-Doh when you look down like that, but I have yet to paint the kitchen. And that's okay. That's okay. I love being here. But you got to walk with me. You got to make sure that I'm around for the long haul. You got to give me a little bit of space to paint the kitchen and a little bit of space to leave you all for maybe a day or 2 days or a week so that I can do the long range planning that I need to do to get us to where we need to go in 2021 and beyond. And you guys need to treat my staff and my leadership team as though it were me. because you don't always. It's hard enough for me to do an ask, but when I know that I'm going to get at best 25 to 50% of the response rate that I get when it's me, then that makes me have to do it. And I have said this more than you guys want to hear, more than I want to say. It is the absolute worst part of my job. And if I could fob it off to staff and leadership team, I would, but I can't. And now that we are doing more, as much as I hate it, yeah, we need to be able to make our modest goals. If we want to be considered the premier, sounds a bit elitist and classist, but if we want to be the go-to space for racial justice, relational ethics, applied ethics, then we need to be able to get it. This time last year, I got to tell you, it was me, Emeleza, and Claire Ramsey, and we were seriously considering whether or not we were going to be able to go on for another year. We were seriously considering what it would look like, how we would slowly shut down operations by the end of January. And here we are now. Here we are now. Do I want to keep doing this? I think I do. Do I want to keep doing it with you personally? Yes, I do. Do I want to keep doing this in service to our North Star because we have something to say that is replicable and scalable? Oh, you betcha. Do I want to do it loud and proud? Oh, absolutely. Walk with me, stay with me, love with me. We got this. Keep walking.